Жизнь давно я понял, кроется гибель где. В пиве никто не тонет, тонут всегда в воде. Реки, моря, проливы, сколько от них вреда. Губит людей не пиво, губит людей вода. Губит людей не пиво.
Okay, now I'm going to hook this up to my homemade vacuum gauge and see how effective it still is. Let me see if I can open this up. There we go. This is a real creative method, I think, to make a vacuum gauge. You can just take any ordinary pressure gauge where you input a pressure and then the needle will rise up. But in order to turn it into a vacuum gauge, you just have to leave the input of the gauge exposed to atmosphere through that hole right there, and you pull a vacuum from the atmosphere all around it. And so that's what I did here. I just hook up the vacuum hose to here and it'll pull vacuum from the glass jar. And ideally it will be best to use a 15 psi gauge. It was 15 psi full scale because atmospheric pressure is about 14.7 psi, but this one's good enough. So let me put this back together, hook up the hose, and let's see what we get. I remember years ago I was only getting about 13 psi or so. You know, it was just 1 or 2 psi short of a perfect vacuum, but it's looking pretty good now. 14 psi about, or should I say only 1 psi pressure inside the jar, but that depends on the accuracy of the gauge itself, and I'm not so sure how accurate it really is. Hopefully the vacuum will be much less than this, and we can get some good use out of this for my my high voltage probe construction technique that I'm going to have in another video. Thanks for watching.
So what I did here is I just have a jar with a normal pressure gauge, and I'll switch on the pump. I'll plug it in. PSI, so that's how much vacuum it's reading. So it should, for a perfect vacuum, should read around 14. So I don't have quite enough. I'm guessing that I don't have enough to make a Crookes tube or whatever it's called. Yeah, cathode ray tube. So I don't know if any of you could tell me if that'll work or not. I tried also making a vacuum tube, but that didn't work either. But as you can tell, the compressor just got silent, so it's not pumping anymore. But yeah, it's about a little bit more than 13. So.
Купит людей не пиво, купит